Recirculating aquaculture systems. What is that? With aquaculture, we are talking about systems that serve to keep aquatic life, for example fish. In this case, the water is circulated to maintain a necessary quality. How is this done? The fish need a housing unit, in this case rectangular tanks, in which they can live. The tanks must be designed to meet the species-specific requirements. Of course, there has to be enough space for them to act out their typical schooling behavior, but at the same time not fall into territorial behavior. In the tanks, the fish are fed and sorted regularly, so that no competitive pressure is put by the larger fish on the smaller fish. The feces that are excreted by the fish, as well as the residual substances that it releases via the gills, end up in the water. In the long run, the fresh, clear water would be enriched with excrements, so that at some point nothing could live in the water anymore. Normally, the water would have to be replaced and refilled regularly. This leads to high water consumption and costs. So it makes sense to recycle the water. Let's take a closer look at this process. First, the feces and food residues must be filtered out of the water. Mechanical filters are used for this purpose, which function in principle like a normal kitchen sieve. In this system, a so-called sieve drum filter is installed, which has rotating sieves. The mesh is so fine that the filter hose cannot be seen with the bare eye. Because such a fine sieve would clog very quickly, cleaning nozzles are used. The water filtered in this way is now free of solid particles. What is still in the water are dissolved chemical compounds. A fish processes the protein from the food into ammonia and releases it into the water via the gills. Ammonia is a powerful neurotoxin, and if the water would not be exchanged or treated, the fish would gradually poison themselves. That's why the next step in our water cycle is a biofilter. Small carrier bodies with a large surface area are moved around in the water. Microorganisms such as beneficial bacteria and other microbes are located on these. They use the ammonia for their own metabolism and break it down into nitrate. In contrast to the highly toxic ammonia, fish have fewer problems with nitrate in the water, even if it exceeds the limit value for drinking water. Nevertheless, it can become a problem if you replace very little amounts of water in the system. Therefore, organisms that need the nitrate are used. This could be other bacteria in a reactor or plants. Plants produce protein from nitrate nitrogen, which humans or animals can later feed on. Because the system has to be kept closed, it would be not sensible to simply use the water to water a garden or arable land, because then it seeps into the soil. Therefore, another technology is coupled to the aquaculture system, which is called hydroponics. These are systems in which you can grow plants on the basis of nutrient-rich water, without any soil. In combination, this is now referred to as aquaponics. Conveniently, the system can also be scaled as desired. If you have more or bigger fish in the tank, they excrete over time more residues, from which more plants can be fertilized. Once the plants have absorbed the nitrate from the water, the waste products are removed and only 2 steps are missing until it can be returned to the fish tank. There are diseases that can spread very well between living beings of a species. This also applies to fish and, in this case, plants. In order to avoid diseases and thus animal suffering, the water is cleaned of pathogens before it flows into the fish tank. This can happen chemically by using ozone. Ozone is a highly reactive oxygen. Alternatively, the germs can be physically eliminated with UVC radiation. In nature, this radiation is emitted by the sun. In aquaculture, special light sources are used for this purpose, as it is shown in the video. The water is now indeed clean, but before it can reach the fish, an important part is still missing. Fish are animals that live underwater, but just like humans, they need oxygen. This is absorbed by the gills of the fish. Through the fine gill lamellae, the oxygen, which is dissolved in the water, enters the fish's bloodstream. Since the water is recycled, the fish will gradually use up the oxygen. Therefore, another component is needed that brings fresh oxygen back into the circulating water. A highly efficient option is the oxygen cone shown here. Enriched with oxygen, the circulating water, just like fresh water, now has a very high quality and can be led back to the fish tanks.